are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Hello and welcome to Law Talk on Germantown Municipal Television. My name is Vince Perryman and I am a local attorney with the law offices of J. Vincent Perryman. Each month, Law Talk focuses on a wide range of legal issues and topics. Today's show, we'll talk about the most frequently asked questions we as attorneys are asked. With us now is attorney Bill Jones. Bill, thanks for being with us.
Always love coming.
Yeah. Now, you've had a radio show for about 10 years, so you probably get asked a lot more questions than the average attorney. Just kind of rapid fired at you.
Absolutely.
But you know, we've also got where our clients come in our office and there's some typical questions that either they're asking before they come in or at initial consult. So
well, it's not just then. You think about it, it's our life. How many times have you heard, I've got one quick question at a party or at school or wherever? I mean, look, we kind of know the secret hidden rules, and if people have questions about them, they're going to ask us.
Oh, that's true.
They want to know, and we know, and they don't want to pay us.
That's right.
To ask these questions. That's probably the biggest and most common question that I get. I would think that most of us get. How much is this going to cost me? And we all have our way that we answer it, but I think that the underlying response is the same, and that is, I have no clue. It depends on several factors. So if we're talking about a personal injury case, generally you're going to take a percentage of whatever you win for your client. Mm-hmm. But just about any other area, whether it be civil, criminal, whatever, that attorney's going to bill on an hourly rate. And every time that you call their office, every time that you say what's going on, that you send an email, you're going to be charged for that. Now, a lot of that the client can control and we can control. Mm-hmm. But as you're aware, we cannot control the other side. So if their adversary hires an attorney, every time that attorney contacts us, we have to respond. Mm-hmm. So if you and I are on a case against each other and I write you a letter, you've got to respond some way, right?
I would assume so.
And you're going to bill your client for that.
Hopefully.
So until I know who's on the other side, until I know how confrontational we're going to be, mm-hmm. I have no clue. I can give an estimate, but generally that estimate is never right. It's either far too high or far too low. Mm-hmm. And that's why we start you out with a retainer, a reasonable retainer, and the cost of that is going to be determined by the years of experience and practice that the attorney's had. Where a younger attorney is not going to charge as much, someone that's got a little more gray hair is going to charge a little bit more. It all depends on all those factors, and the short answer is I don't know.
Yeah, and it also depends on the complexity of the issues you're dealing with, because somebody that's doing patent or whatever, or something that's got some specific thing to that, their rates are going to be higher than somebody that's doing something that's more of a vanilla everyday type of attorney activity.
And the way to find out is schedule an appointment with an attorney. Sit down with them. Don't catch them at a kid's event or after soccer practice or at mm-hmm. church or wherever. Go. This is their job. This is what we do for a living. Go to their office, schedule some time, sit down with them and say, shows like this are a great starting point. Mm-hmm. Like my radio show, those are great starting points. But if you need some more detailed answer, go see an attorney.
Yeah, and the other thing you got to remember is when you're walking up to somebody and they're not on the clock, what they're doing, you get what you pay for.
That's right. And
there's a well-respected older attorney that once said to me, I was talking with him and it just said, well, you must have people come up to you all the time, because he had run in politics, so he was in a political position. I'm like, people got to come up to you all the time and ask questions about what's going on with your position and this and that. And he said, well, yeah, it's no different than really what you deal with as an attorney, having people come up. And the advice he gave me was, is you have a lot of people, they come up, they've already made up their mind on what they're going to do. So he said, I always just tell them whether they're right or wrong, that sounds like a fine idea, and send them on their way.
That's the other thing, is if you're paying for an attorney, follow the advice that they're giving you. So many times, somebody will ask me a question, and I discover they completely disregarded it. And it's, why are you paying me if regardless of what I say, you're going to do whatever it is that you want? Which brings up another question that I'm going to kind of toss your way. Should people, in dealing with the IRS, they terrify me. But that's something most people think they can handle on their own. They can work out something with it. Should people sign an agreement, make a deal without our help? When do you determine that you need a lawyer?
I think it really depends on a lot of factors. I mean, it's the same thing as like when somebody's looking at a business deal. It's not all driven by one issue. It's driven by how comfortable are you striking the deal by yourself? Are you confident you can do that? The other things are, there's some tricks of the trade that an attorney or CPA may know as far as allowable expenses that are higher than what your actual expenses are. Things of that nature. So there's certain things that can help. And what I tell a lot of folks is sit down with somebody for an hour, pay them their hourly rate for that 1 hour, and they may be able to mitigate it.
My advice is similar. It's, look, if you're losing sleep over this, if it's to the point where you're losing sleep over it, that's when you need to call an attorney and say, look, do I need to hire you? Do I need your help? Should I sign this contract without you reviewing it? Well, if you don't understand a word in it, if you haven't reviewed it, no, don't sign it. Go. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Speak with an attorney first. If the government wanted me to sign some tax agreement, you better bet your butt I'm going to call you first.
Yeah. Well, and we're called counselors for a reason.
That's right.
When you walk into court, they go, "What do you have today, counselor?" And it's because we counsel people as to what the law is and what the ramifications of what they're doing is. Yeah. So what are some of the more frequent legal issue type questions you've gotten lately?
So the legal issues are generally the judge orders somebody to do something and somebody's not doing right. They're ordered that they're supposed to pay half of these expenses, or they're ordered that they were supposed to give half of the retirement, or whatever. If the court orders it and the other party's not doing it, that's the big question. What do I do now? How do I get them to comply? What I always tell people is think of it like the courts are the parental units in this equation. And if you're not doing what they've ordered you to do, you have to bring it to their attention. You have to raise your hand and say, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And sometimes the court will give them a slap on the wrist and say, act right. But the second or third time, that's when the court gets more upset. And the way that we do that is we file a petition for contempt. A petition for contempt is how you deal with an issue when a party's not obeying a court order. In any type of civil proceeding, it says, look, Your Honor, you made this ruling. I love this ruling. I think this was a great ruling. And they're not abiding by your ruling. They're disrespecting you, this court, and my person. Make them do better. And that's when we go in and the court says, yeah, I agree with Mr. Jones, or I agree with whoever. This person needs to do what I ordered them to do the first time.
Okay. When we return, we'll continue our discussion on most frequently asked questions. Please stay with us.
Get caught buzz driving, and you could do some hard time.
Craig, knock it off. Sorry, Mom.
It could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. And that could set you back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
You are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Welcome back. I'm Vince Perryman, and you're watching Law Talk. Joining us on our show is attorney Bill Jones. We're discussing the most frequently asked questions we as attorneys are hearing. Bill, I think before the break, we were kind of talking about contempt being one of the big questions you've got, and
Yeah, and those are generally questions that you get when when somebody's encountering a divorce, something like that. Hopefully, most of our viewers, or most of your viewers, aren't going through that. What I found most of the time people deal with are traffic issues, whether it's a speeding ticket, whether it's a car accident. That's the way that a lot of people come in contact with the law, with police, because we all drive, and a lot of times things happen when you're driving. I know that I've got a little sports car, and I've got a heavy foot. I enjoy going fast, and sometimes I go too fast. And with that, I know that I've done a lot of speeding tickets. Recently in my practice, though, I don't handle them as much, which during the break brought up a question that I had for you. Recently, I got my picture taken while going through an intersection in my little car, and I guess I was going too fast, and I got a ticket in the mail. And I know from clients, I get asked this question all the time. Do I need to pay that ticket? Is it legitimate? Can I defend it? Do I need to hire somebody to defend it? Or should I just pay it and throw my hands up and slow down?
well, and the red light stuff is kind of interesting right now because, what was it? It was either last year or the year before, they amended the statute as to make it clear as to when you're going through an intersection, when you can continue through and when you can't. It was actually Antonio Parkinson, a state representative out of Memphis, that had worked on this.
So what's the law?
So, well, the law now is if your front wheels are past the stop bar, that big white line, when the light has changed colors, you can continue through.
If it's changed to red.
Well, I mean, if it's yellow or red, if when it changes to red, if this is the bar and your tires are in the intersection on the other side of it, the front tires
Continue on through.
you can continue on through.
Yeah, but the camera doesn't know that. The camera snatches, it makes the picture.
Well, the camera is reviewed by a team of folks. So now if you get a red light ticket, you go in and you can go online and you can watch frame by frame what the camera did.
Okay.
So for a client recently, I actually watched it frame by frame, and I'm like, yeah, unfortunately, you're on the wrong side of the stop line. They were correct. You ran the light. So you've got that part of it. Now, there is some argument out there where I think there's a class action pending or something of that nature where they are saying that there is a certain time limit that the yellow light is supposed to run for, and that the companies managing these traffic cameras, because it's a third-party contractor, have shortened the time that the yellow light runs. So if you're watching one of those videos, you may want to time the amount of time the yellow light is.
But in general, what you're saying, the answer to my frequently asked question is
pay it.
Pay it.
Yeah.
If you get it and you've reviewed it frame by frame and you think there's a question, contact a lawyer. If not, pay it.
Right.
If you don't pay it, what's going to happen?
Well, if you don't pay it, I mean, it's not a moving violation. It's a civil ticket. So there's no points on the record, but you wind up, it just increases the fines higher and higher.
Okay.
And eventually they'll try to take collection action against whoever the plates are, because that's who they're sending it to. You may not have been the driver, but if you own the car, they're assuming you were driving it at the time.
All right.
So with it, there's more play in those tickets than there used to be, but not as much. So, if somebody's got something like a Legal Shield that covers tickets or Hyatt legal plans, some of these legal plans, sometimes those will cover for an attorney to take a look at it. And that way you can either pay it, not pay it, fight it, whatever, but you've got a peace of mind because somebody's reviewed it.
All right. So the red light bottom line, pay it or talk with an attorney.
Yeah.
Okay. The other question that I get in dealing with traffic is you're involved in a hit and run, or not a hit and run, a car collision of some type. What do you need to do? I love the fact that just about everybody and their brother, their mother, their uncle has a cell phone these days.
Yep.
It is a camera with you wherever you go. So the first thing that I tell people is, if you're able and you're not injured, take pictures, not of just the car, do a 360 view. Get the intersection, what the weather condition was like that day, what the time of day was. Take some photographs, because there is a police report, but that's written after the police have come. Sometimes things have gotten moved around. So I always tell people, document it as well as you can. And everybody gets the damage. Well, okay, the damage is always going to be there. We can review that. What I want is the physical surroundings. How are the cars parked? How did they come to rest? Are there skid marks around? What's the intersection like? Is there any signage? So document those things. The other thing that I get are people hate going to hospitals. I know I do. Unless I'm going to visit somebody else, I don't want to go. And at the cause of an accident, or at the scene of an accident, so many people refuse to go to the hospital. And then that night, you and I hear it all the time. That night, they wake up and their neck, their back, whatever's killing them, and they have to go to the ER anyway. And that always leaves a gap there where, did this injury occur here at the accident, or throughout the course of the day? So I tell people, if this has happened to you, go to the hospital from the scene of the accident if you can. And you and I were talking about this. You tell your clients that there's some things that they need to document.
Well, yeah, one thing is, whatever you say to the police or whatever, just hit your record button on the phone. Everybody's got a recorder on those things. So that way, because police reports aren't always accurate, because they got a hard job to do, and they're trying to get it down the best they can. They're trying to recreate. Stuff may have been moved around. They got to deal with this idiot. And that wants to get in the middle of everything.
And they weren't there.
Yeah. So the recorder can be useful on that. Now, you may upset some folks cutting on a recorder, but just cut it on, put it in your pocket, that sort of thing. And if you got the earbuds, you got a mic on it. The other thing with it is like you said, get the whole picture of it. But I also tell people, if they do have pain after the accident, go see your general practitioner if you're not going to go to the hospital. Just get them to rule everything out, because that way that it's not like you're going to an injury clinic.
Yeah.
But now we need to take a break. So when we return, we'll talk more with Bill about attorney questions. Please stay with us.
This new mom is struggling to get the skates just right. And now she's holding on for dear life. Her kids can see she may have broke her knees. They still love her though she looks like she's attacked by killer bees. I'm allergic. Proof you don't have to be perfect to be the perfect parent.
Thousands of siblings in foster care will take you just as you are.
You are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Welcome back. With us now is Bill Jones, and we're talking about frequently asked questions that we receive. Bill, I think before the break we were talking about what you might do in a car accident also. And the one other thing that I tell people to do is keep a journal as far as how your injuries have affected your life. Because if you have to try it, it's going to be a year or more before a jury. And this way you've got recorded recollection, and you can say, well, you know, my back hurt here and it was specific. And this is also something that you can take into your medical doctor and say, here's where my pain was. This is sort of a log of when it started and things of that nature.
And with that, I also tell them receipts. I don't care if you're going to the pharmacy to buy a bottle of Tylenol. Any receipt that you have that is associated with that accident, you need to document. If you're losing time off from work, you need to document that. Anything, any type of paperwork that you have that you've gotten because of the accident, keep that and take that to your attorney. Which you brought up that you know, your journal is effective because sometimes it may take you a year to get into court. Well, that's the other question that I think is right up there with how much is this going to cost me, and that is, how long is this matter going to take? How long are we going to be? How long should I expect? And again, the answer that I think we all give is, I don't know. I can estimate some things, but some of it depends upon you, on how quickly on whether or not you draw a line in the sand and say we have to work through the system. You and I went through law school about the same time. I had a professor that used to tell me, if we go to trial, we have failed at our job. If we end up before a jury in a courtroom or in front of a judge, that somewhere along the lines we've failed at our job. And I think what he means by that are most of these cases are designed, and the system is designed, so that we're almost playing poker with our cards facing the other way. So we each know all the facts before we get to court, and that encourages settlement. Whether it's an insurance company or a divorce or a will contest, whatever. By knowing all the facts, hopefully that encourages settlement. But if you go through that trial process, you're looking at your calendar, the other attorney's calendar, the judge's calendar, the client's calendars, and it intentionally moves slow. I say intentionally because the courts hate deciding this stuff. That's their job, and they do. But they want us as individuals to try and settle our legal disputes and not make them bang a gavel and say, this is what you're gonna do. So certainly they allow an abundance of time to go by, and sometimes you need time. Sometimes our clients, I know in my practice, sometimes my clients just need time to calm down. I think the key is to get in to see an attorney quickly after an incident. Yeah, the legal process may take a long time, but that does not mean that you need to stew on this for 2 years before you go talk with an attorney.
Right, because the statute of limitations may have run.
Right. So the statute of limitations, there really isn't one in a divorce practice. Or with trying to collect, child support here in Tennessee, you've got up until the kid 7 years after they come of age. But in a personal injury contract, can you rattle some of those off for us?
So what we've got, like contractual disputes, you got 6 years. So personal injury, if it is bodily injury, you've got 1 year in Tennessee, I believe 2 in Mississippi.
Yeah, now that 1 year is from when?
It's from the date of the accident.
Right. It's the same with a malpractice claim against a doctor or an attorney.
Yeah, and you've got some discovery rules in there with that, but also with the attorneys now, you got a 3-year statute of repose. So even if you're unaware of it, if it's 3 years old, you can't recover. So
often I have folks either call in or catch me out, and they'll ask me a question, and it's always about a year ago, this happened to me, what should I do? And that's when I have to just kind of shake my head and say, you're over this year's statute, you had a great case or a great cause of action, and there's nothing we can do. So probably one of the biggest pieces of advice is it costs you little to nothing to sit down with an attorney and say, do I have a case? Do I need to do something? What counsel can you give me? What can the law do? So definitely go see an attorney about any issue that you think you might have a case on. Because if you wait too long, you've lost your ability to do anything with it.
I think one of the problems with that are people find attorneys intimidating. We're not all that intimidating. I mean, we're just like normal spectrum of people. There are some that are, there's some that aren't.
That's it.
You know, and it's one of those that spending a little bit of time with an attorney is not a bad thing to do. So that way, you know, you've got the answer and you can move on with your life.
Sure, and that goes back to, look, if you can't talk to your attorney, if you're intimidated by your attorney, you need to find another attorney.
Right.
Any type of litigation, it's almost like you're going to a little war, and you want somebody there in the trenches with you that you're comfortable with. So that's the other thing. Anytime that I get advice, and I know that you do the same, is we tell folks, go get a second opinion, go get a third opinion. Interview several attorneys and see who do you like, who meshes with your personality style, but don't just see who tells you, don't hire whoever tells you I can do the best for you.
Right.
Hire who you're comfortable with and who you can work with.
Yeah, and always trust but verify.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody says they're capable of appellate work, and you might want to go make sure that they are.
There's some great resources that you can go and check and see whether an attorney's been disciplined. You can go to the Bar Association website, run a name search on an attorney and see what their record pulls up. You've got Google reviews, you've got AVVO reviews where you can go and see what's this attorney's record like, what do they look like, do they even practice in the area I need?
Yeah, and I do have one caveat with going to the board's site. If you see public discipline there, you should be concerned because most discipline is private.
That's
which
right.
I personally take issue with because the public needs to know. If it's enough for a private censure, it should be public. And I don't quite understand why that's not the case. Both in the judicial stuff and on the attorney stuff, there's a lot of private censures.
Sure.
And it's kind of, to me, it's, you know, taking care of your own.
Well, and the same goes with these public databases. If you see a bad review, you still go check with the attorney.
Yeah. Well, and now our time is up for this edition of Law Talk. So I'd like to thank our guest for taking time out of his busy schedule and being with us and sharing his thoughts and insights. If you would like more information about Law Talk or any other program on Germantown Municipal Television, please refer to our website at www.gmtvonline.org. Thank you for joining us today, and be sure to join us for new episodes beginning in September on more legal topics. Until then, I am Vince Perryman, and thank you for watching.